going on, all you savages out there? This is your boy, the big guy, and listen to the unkept, uncut, gnarly as hell podcast in the world, Shooting the Breeze with the big guy. What's going on, players? Welcome back, episode 2 of Shooting the Breeze with the big guy. A lot of stuff to talk about, and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, Shooting the Breeze with the big guy podcast. And tell your friends about it. I know the first video only got about 4 views, so watch it again if you like, and recommend anything you want me to talk about, or anything you don't want me to talk about, and looking forward into the summer and continuing this podcast. But there's a lot to talk about. I gotta talk about sports just because I'm a sports guy. I love sports, so I always talk about that for a big chunk of my stuff, and then other entertainment stuff, and maybe share a few little stories from the big guy's life stories, and any other stuff I want to talk about, ranting or whatnot. So yeah, episode 2. I don't know what the title of this is. The title: Strike Hard, Strike First, and No Mercy. That's the name of this episode: Strike First, Strike Hard, No Mercy. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, obviously some of you guys probably know by now, at least, the tennis fans, if there are any out there. Obviously, only 4 people watching, so I don't think any of those people from the first episode was tennis fans. But I just wanted to, talk about, Rafael Nadal, Spanish tennis player, and he won his 12th French Open the other day versus Dominic Thiem. He won 6-3, 5-7, 6-1, 6-1. I believe this was, what's today? Today's Monday, so he did this yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. And that's another big win. He's just so dominant on this court and this season and the French Open and just in general the clay season itself. And you can't really bet on anyone else to win it because there's always that one tennis announcer, analyst. You want to call them quote unquote analyst? Like they're not analysts. People who went to school for journalism and have worked for this. Like I don't get it. But you can't you got one of those analysts or a few of them who vote, oh yeah, Dominic Thiem's going to win, or Djokovic, or Federer if he plays, or anyone else. It's not going to happen, though, because Nadal's going to win. Yeah, Wawrinka won it 1 year, and then Djokovic, and then Federer won it 1 year. But the thing is, besides that, who else has won any of them? None. In the last 18 years. He's too dominant on this, and, as I call it, he's won the French Baker's dozen, and it'll never be repeated on this surface, especially in the next 15, 20 years, or just on any other surface from any other player in the future. This is just so hard to do, to win 12 year after year. No one's gonna beat him with that accolade, and I think besides Federer, he's probably the best player ever. With tennis it's hard because with football, it can easily be done. Brady, Montana, whoever else you want to put at 3. It's very easy to do. Basketball, it's easy to do. Baseball, you can do. Pro wrestling, if you can do with that, it's easy to do. Other sports, it's easy to do. But with tennis, it's hard because you have 2 of the greatest of all time, not Djokovic, Nadal and Federer. Those 2 are tied for 1. And 2, personally for me, I would say Sampras Andre Agassi. Then everyone else follows down below him. It's just there's no definitive number 1 or number 2. There's about 4 people I think would be the 1 and 2 position of all time. Like I said, Nadal and Federer at 1, and Sampras and Agassi at 2. It's too hard to say who's 1 and who's 2 because there's just so many that titles won between Federer and Nadal that it's hard to choose a definitive person. Now, if we were talking about surface-wise, top 1 and 2, obviously French Open would be Nadal. Wimbledon, I would say, I don't know, Federer maybe. I'd have to look at the statistics, but it's just too hard to say. And I feel bad for all these players that have to play Nadal in the French Open because he's not going to lose a set in the first couple of rounds. Not until probably the semifinals or quarterfinals he's going to start losing a set. But even that, he's going to come back and win 2 sets. It's just too dominant on the surface. So I'm happy to see him do it near the end of his career because the last couple of years, he's been on and off with injuries, knees, shoulders, elbows. It's mainly just elbow and knees. So I'm really happy that he's but it's always guaranteed pretty much that he's gonna win the French Open. So the next thing I want to talk about, I'm not gonna really waste my time because I felt myself with the first episode thinking about it afterwards. I caught myself, really talking about something for a long time, and I don't really want to do that. Sure, I want to speak for as long as I can about something, getting my point across, but I don't want to be there for over an hour, over an hour and a half talking about stuff that could be said in a few minutes. But for the second thing I want to talk about is big game 5 tonight between the Toronto Raptors and the GS Warriors, Golden State Warriors. For you non-sports fans, I think personally, after reading, that Kevin Durant, practices a little bit Sunday, I feel like he possibly could come back tonight for not the whole game, obviously not. I think for a select amount of minutes, he's gonna come back, and maybe he'll do some damage. But I was thinking though, like if I like when this kid I used to work with the school paper where I go to school at URI, he posted this thing where he was the only person on the court and he got off the court before anyone else was on the court. So yesterday was writing stuff down. I was thinking maybe he'd be in, maybe he'd help him be successful, but I just was really thinking about it. I don't think he'll come back, and I think in Toronto that'll be a good thing for the Raptors, obviously, to play in their home crowd without one of the top 5 players in the league right now, Kevin Durant, and seeing what they've done with the old big three of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala. It's just and DeMarcus Cousins just really isn't anything right now anymore. He just came back too late to solidify himself, and it was funny because I was reading this thing the other day saying that there's all these memes about Boogie Cousins coming for a free ring and they're gonna lose 4-1. I think Toronto's just too dominant right now. They're not gonna lose a game. I thought Golden State was gonna win a game and maybe win another game and bring it to 7-game series, but Toronto's gonna beat them because Kevin Durant's not gonna get in. If he gets in, it'll be for maybe a couple minutes and he won't really do anything too much. He'll maybe re-aggravate his injury, and then he'll leave the team for another team in the future, whether that be the Nets or the Knicks, I don't know, but Toronto's going to win this, and it's going to be good because when the first time, I'm happy that Golden State loses. But I think for Toronto, though, what they have to do, their game plan for this, and this is just me, like the casual NBA fan, I think they have to limit the fouls, because I remember when I was watching the last couple minutes of the game before, because I forgot something. I always, when I talk about sports, I always make it seem like I know stuff, but I always miss the event, like tennis. I didn't watch a single point of French Open just because, well, I don't like sitting and watching tennis only because it's so long, especially with the men. They play best of 5 sets, so in tennis, you have to win an even amount of sets to win. So, I mean, if you play a 1-set match and you win the first 1 set, then you win. But best of 3 sets, you have to win 2 out of 3 sets. Best of 5, 3 out of 2. Best of 7, you have to win 4 out of 3. So, the men play best of 5 sets. So they got to win 3 sets compared to the women who only play 2, or best of 3, and they only have to win 2 out of 3. But it's just so long waiting. I don't want to watch and you don't know when that match is going to come. That dark horse is going to come and upset some guy in 5 sets. You don't know what it is, and it's just so long of a wait to watch a 5-set match. My grandfather was right when he was talking about this the other day. Even if it's on tape delay, meaning like it's already was on live and now it's just on later if you missed it, and it's like 10 o'clock at 8 o'clock at night. You don't want to be sitting there for 5 hours. Like, no, that's a waste of my gosh darn fucking time. And I don't get it. I'm not gonna waste my time while watching a tennis match for 5 hours. So I'll maybe watch the highlights, which I don't ever do anyways. So I always look at the statistics and say my piece on it, what I think happened. But I think Toronto needs to limit the amount of fouls because, like I was saying before, I lost track of what I was saying. When I was watching the last 2 minutes, I was reading that stuff on ESPN, the game stats, and a lot of the players had 2, 3, 5. They had a couple fouls each, and you don't want to do that because Golden State, you get a few fouls on you. Draymond Green, the scumbag shithead he is, he's gonna get at you. He's gonna try to get you mentally, like a lot of kids I play tennis with, and they're gonna get frustrated. And I think if they limit the amount of times they foul him, I'm not saying just let them go for the layup. If you have to foul him, but don't make it a serious foul. Try your best, just to block him, but. Look at me trying to be a coach, but no, limit the amount not free throws, fouls you have. When you're scoring an efficient amount and efficient percentage, because you can shoot all you want. I have no problem with that. But if you're shooting and you're 15 for 45, that's not a good amount. That's a 33%, I'm pretty sure. So you wanna make sure you're scoring a good amount of points on a good amount percentage, that you still have a good enough lead. And I think to limit the amount of times they score out on the perimeter 3-pointer wise, because you let them get hot, then they're just gonna burn you with that all day. And especially missing Kevin Durant, you don't want them to get hot without him, because they have that statistic. Oh, sorry, they're like 32-10 with him. Without him. So like you don't want them to um get hot without one of the top players in the league on their team. So just keep it to a minimum how they're shooting out there. Don't foul them too much, because you'll let scumbag shitheads like Draymond Green get in your head, and just go from there. Play good defense, and you're gonna win. You're gonna win, and don't let them come back though. That's the thing, because a lot of teams get like Houston. Other teams like they have a big lead on the Golden State, and then let Golden State come back, and they freak out and like, oh, what the hell, man? What the f is your problem? And like get all angry at their teammates like James Harden and Chris Paul about the whole playoffs. Another topic for another day or later. But no, I think Toronto can win this. If they win this, if they can do all those things, limit the amount of times they foul, play good defense, score an efficient percentage, and baskets made, limit the amount of threes Golden State shoots, then eliminate at least two players, then they're gonna win their first title ever. The next thing I want to talk about, and I shouldn't be saying the next thing I want to talk about, the next thing, I should more like ease into it. But I wanted to talk about this. I'm a big Rockets fan, like I said before, and it's not like I've been a fan for 2 years or 3 years. I've been a fan since 2009, 2010. That's when Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming were near the end of their careers, I should say, or especially with their Houston careers. And I felt really bad because Yao Ming was such a dominant player in the early 2000s, and if it wasn't for the really good early 2000s Spurs teams or the early 2000s Lakers team, they'd be so great. They would have won a title or two, maybe 3, but unfortunately they didn't. And I became a fan of them, and it's like with the Chargers. I liked them before they made the playoffs last year, but I don't really like to talk about it because you always have those people always give you shit for liking teams that might be successful just because you didn't mention them before. But when they were doing it, I've always liked Phillip Rivers. I've always drafted him for fantasy football when I've done it, and even if I've always tried to draft him, even if it's not possible because someone might have taken him before me. But I've always liked that team: Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers. They were always a decent team. There were a few good players away from making the playoffs, and it's just unfortunate. But now I'm happy that they've made the playoffs. Will they make it again? I don't know. But I've liked the Rockets for about 8 to 10 years, and I've really seen them from their worst to their best. And I'm upset that they, for some reason, can't get over the hump. They choked so hard against Golden State this year with what's his name, Kevin Durant, entered in the game. They still can't win that game, and they can't win the next game with him out. So it's so unfortunate, but whatever. So what I wanted to talk about with the Rockets is that I was reading that they were close to extension with Mike D'Antoni, I should say, not Mark. Which is odd because they're talking about earlier how they couldn't reach an agreement on a contract extension, and it looked like he was just going to play coach the last remainder year on his final contract, and then they get one. So personally, I should say, I think that's a good move because he's a great coach. Yeah, they haven't made it to the Western Conference Finals and won. Or actually, no, granted, I should say they didn't make the Western Conference Finals this year, which is always the goal for them, at least. And yeah, they haven't made it out of the end of the finals, but he's still a good coach. Look at the players he's had. When he coached Phoenix with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire and Sean Marion, and then you go to the Lakers and he had Kobe and whoever else was on that team. That team wasn't that bad. It's just like it kind of fell apart, and I think a lot of guys on that team, wanted to be the leaders like Dwight Howard, but Kobe's the leader of that team. He always will be, and he always has been. Hold on one second. And it's a shame for that team how they didn't do well because, they were probably favorite or probably pushed up, I guess, or I don't know what I should say, but probably had a good chance of making the playoffs and doing some damage. It's just it never worked out. But you just look at the teams that they were playing against. You got LeBron when he was with the Heat. Then you got the Celtics when they won the title in 08 or 09. Then oh wait, was it? Because then the Lakers won 2009, 2010. Then you got then now you have Golden State, and I think though he's had a lot of good players and he's a great coach. It's just other teams have been more phenomenally knock him out of playoffs, and they say, oh yeah, he can't coach the team anymore. It doesn't work. And the thing is, it's different. It's different with James Harden because it's not like it's LeBron where he pushes the coach out and says, "Oh no, this is my team. I'm gonna be the goddamn coach." Because he shouldn't be doing it. Yeah, he's one of the greatest of all time, greatest athletes of all time in general. But like, you can't be. You're not the coach. You're not getting paid this. You're getting paid to play. You're getting paid too much to coach, if anything. So I should say to play. So leave coaching to the coach because that's why he's called the coach. And yeah, the coaches are really pointless because the NBA players don't really need them because they're just so good. But still, just Mike D'Antoni, he's just so good of a coach that I think signing an extension for this team is good. And I think like the whole free agency and trading to get better players, they have a good team as it is. They're one player away. And I think honestly, they shouldn't trade away James Harden or Clint Capella. Those two should be the star of the team. I'm sorry, Chris Paul, but you're getting older. And you're not going to get an MVP award anytime soon. You're probably not going to get an NBA title. So, I mean, he realistically probably could leave. And so could PJ Tucker, unfortunately, because I love PJ Tucker. He's a massive sneakerhead, and he's such a good defensive player. Sure, he's not going to score above 10 points a game. Probably 8 points a game. Not going to get a whole lot of rebounds stuff, but his defensive efficiency, defense itself, it's just so good. You saw with the playoffs, he's the best defensive player in the Rockets team. And you also saw that recently in the last couple weeks or so, the all defensive teams and stuff like that, first team all NBA. James Harden got 2 defensive votes, and PJ Tucker got 1. So it tells you about PJ Tucker. Played every game this season that he was in. So I'm really, unfortunately, I think you need to clear out a lot of guys that don't cover up a lot of cap space, have very small contracts, but players like Nene, get him out. Just please, like, when they signed him back for that deal, like, no offense, but he's not really, like, what is the, like, plus of having him, no offense, like, veteran leadership, yeah, but, like, there's not really upside. It's not like he's scoring 30 points and 20 rebounds. It's not like he's dropping a 30-20. So I don't get why. So clear out a lot of guys that cover up a lot of not a lot of contract, but have small contract, but just really aren't doing anything. Like Amon Shumpert, nice guy, good. He was a good player, just anymore, so he's got to probably leave. PJ Tucker, unfortunately. Austin Rivers keep. Eric Gordon keep. Kenneth Faried keep. I like Kenneth Faried. It's unfortunate, but like they're not going to get a max deal. There's no need to trade anybody. Actually, you could trade Chris Paul. I mean, if you could find someone that would want to come here, I don't know who would want to come to Houston. It's just like that's the thing. Like James Harden wants to be the leader of the team, and I have no problem with that. Him, Clint Capella, maybe Jimmy Butler. I mean, that would be interesting. I don't know if he'll come, but I don't want to see the team I like, argue amongst the players, and I don't want them to lose everyone and start over because I don't want it to be like the 2012 season or anything like that. And it's unfortunate, but whatever. It's all about the money. So wherever guys can get the most money is where they're gonna play, and I just wish the best for them. But I just think trading Clint Capella is a stupid freaking idea, and I think getting rid of PJ Tucker, I think getting rid of everyone's a bad idea. Build your bench. So you build your bench is gonna be decent. If your bench is gonna be decent, they're gonna help scoring a little bit, and then your offense their load isn't gonna have to be so heavy. Just me saying, I'm not an NBA executive or anything. I'm just a casual fan. The next thing I wanted to talk about is so the other day, I'm a big fan of old movies and I'm just old school stuff and stuff. I like older clothes. I'm not talking about stuff from the 50s and 40s and stuff like my great grandparents used to wear when they were kids. But I'm talking about like the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s is kind of pushing it. But it's just I just love old stuff, old cars. I love like old movies from the 80s, 70s, and sort of 90s. I love all that stuff, and that's the type of music I like. I like 60s. My music, it's more of Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, to about like let's say Aerosmith. I'm sure they came out with the songs in the late 90s, early 2000s that are really popular. AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne, like those old school bands that still came out with good music in the 90s, 80s. Rolling Stones. And my sisters and other people give me a lot of bust my balls a lot for music, but it's better than the current music because there's actual instruments playing. It's not stuff made on the computer like how I'm making this podcast on GarageBand. It's it's authentic, real, quality music. And I saw Rod Stewart in concert a few years ago, and I loved it. He was phenomenal. I saw him at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield, Mass. I recommend going if you're in the New England area or in Pennsylvania, close to Massachusetts. It was so phenomenal. It made my summer because he's such a legend, and I was up pretty close. I was there's a few sections. There's obviously up close, and there's like a middle, then there's a back, and then there's like a grass area, lawn area you can sit, and the admission it's cheap, probably $25 or something like that. We got pretty good seats. We were pretty close. I mean, we weren't right up under him, so we could see the sweat come onto us from him. But we were in the middle section. It was just phenomenal. He was on there, in and out of different clothes, which was awesome. We couldn't stay for the last 2 songs or so because we had to leave, and the traffic would have been really bad if we left after the concert when it ended. But, every time he sings "Do You Think I'm Sexy," he always kicks up soccer balls because he's a massive soccer fan. But then so that was 2 summers ago, I should say. Last summer, I saw James Taylor at Tanglewood in Lenox, Mass, and that's a long drive. On top of that, it's a big lawn area. Actually, no, that was something different. This was. I'm trying to think of what that was. I forget what this was. I think it was Tanglewood. No, wait, no, hold on. I can't remember where it was. But anyways, we were watching him, and no, it was Tanglewood because we were way back and like all behind all these trees, so we couldn't see him then. And there's usually monitors that show him, but we couldn't see those either. And he was there for he was playing, and then he took a 20-minute break, and he sounded out of breath, windy. It was also, granted, it was pretty hot up there. And then he came back, and it wasn't the same. And then we saw him me, my mom, and my aunt who came with us last time over the summer with her daughters and friend. Us three went, and we saw him at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, Rhode Island, my state's home, state capital, I should say. Oh, I can't get my words out right now. My state's capital, Providence, Rhode Island, in the Dunkin' Donuts Center, used to be known as the Civic Center. We were on the floor, and we were up pretty close, and not like right underneath them, but we were close, and it was so phenomenal. Bonnie Raitt was on it. Granted, this was the same tour as when I saw him over the summer. They'd been on this tour for 2 years. It's the last concert of the tour, last leg, and Bonnie Raitt was on there for probably about an hour, and then James Taylor came on for over 2 hours. They played about 3 encores. He was so phenomenal. I'm pretty sure we stayed for pretty much the whole thing. I think we left near the end of his last show, but it was last song, but it was phenomenal. But no, I just love old stuff, and I was thinking going to Kool and the Gang with the OJs, but I wasn't sure. I want to go to a lot of stuff, and a few weeks ago I went to this wrestling show, like I said in my last episode, and I want to go to see a lot of stuff because I like a lot of old music. And the thing is, a lot of these old people who are singing, a lot of these old school singers, classic guys, they die fast. They're dying fast now. Seems like we're losing one every other few days. So it's really unfortunate. So I want to say as much as I can before none of them are alive anymore. I mean, obviously some are going to be alive still, but it's just unfortunate to see them die and never be able to see him. But so I was watching the show. So I love Karate Kid, one of the best movies of all time, I think, and especially sports movies and whatnot. The second one wasn't too bad. I liked it. Went to Japan, he went back to Miyagi's life and showed how he grew up and his problems and issues. And then the third one people give a lot of shit about, but I think it's good. Terry Silver, the owner of Cobra Kai, helps out his former Vietnam partner, I guess you could say, army buddy, Johnny Kreese, and he reopens Cobra Kai, and he torments Daniel LaRusso for him to fight Mike Barnes in the All Valley Karate Tournament. Terry Silver's just such more of a villain, such bigger of a villain than or larger a villain than Johnny Kreese, and it was so good. And there's some cheesy parts, and then the fourth one with Hilary Swank. She's so pretty, and amazing, but gorgeous, amazing, I should say. But she doesn't fit the role, and it's not me being against women or saying women shouldn't play those type of roles. I'm not against. I'm not saying women are awful actors because there's a lot of great female actors. Meryl Streep. I forget what her name is. Whatever. And there's just so many great female athletes, but it didn't make sense because they should have ended after the third one. So in the fourth one, it doesn't make sense. And they definitely should not have made the one with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan's a great actor. Jaden Smith's not an actor, and he's not a singer. He's just there. He's a socialite. If you don't know what socialite means, it's someone who just goes to a lot of parties and social events. And they should have been in the third one. And I think it was so good. And so I like those movies. I haven't seen them in a while. I used to own them, maybe. I can't remember. But so many great lines. So now they created a show just for YouTube. At the time, it was called YouTube Red. Now it's YouTube Premium, and it's called Cobra Kai, and it's set 34 years later after the first one. So the other ones, obviously still happened, but it's set 34 years after the first one. And Daniel LaRusso is now a car salesman. He's got his own family, a wife, 2 kids, a daughter and a boy. The daughter's in high school. I'm sure the son's probably in like middle school or elementary school. And Johnny Lawrence, meanwhile, is a drunk. He's in and out of jobs. He does a lot of like carpentry work and handyman type stuff, installing stuff, whatnot. And he doesn't really have his life in order. And he's got a stepfather who was an asshole to him when he was growing up. His father left or died, and his mother, wanted the best for him and would do anything for him. But his stepfather had a lot of money, and he made the decisions. And he joined karate, and his life was ruined afterwards. And I forget what it was. He saw the commercial of Johnny LaRusso's car dealership, doing all these karate moves, chopping prices in half or whatever. And he got really upset. And, next thing comes to next. And for whatever the term is, Johnny Lawrence opens his own karate dojo. He's got this kid who lives next to him, gets bullied with like his 2 friends. And really, Johnny Lawrence's daughter hangs around with these kids to make herself seem popular, and leaves this girl who's a little overweight, not as popular, in the dust. And what was I gonna say? And so they open the dojo, and the Johnny Lawrence builds up, gets more people to join, and Daniel LaRusso finds out about this, and he says, "You sure you should be doing this with Cobra Kai?" And at first, he didn't really want to do it because he had so much bad memories from Johnny Creeks, his former sensei, what he did to him and the other guys. And they went to the All Valley tournament. At first, they couldn't enter because they were banned for life for what Terry Silver, John Creeks, and what's his name, the guy from the third one did to everyone out there, just disrespectful and whatnot, and doing illegal stuff. But they got back in because Johnny Lawrence, his heart was in the right place. He wanted to change the image because that wasn't who he was. That was how John Creeks was and Terry Silver. And they let him in, even though Daniel LaRusso didn't want that. And they win the tournament. Johnny Lawrence's student, or I should say, student who lives next to him actually, wins it, and they get a lot of people joining. And then at the end of season 1, a guy comes back, the best villain ever probably. What's the name? John Creeks. He comes back, and he's smoking a cigar and says, "I knew you would return." And he comes back and he wants to help, but Johnny Lawrence, now this goes into the second season. First episode continues off from the last one of the first season. And he talks about how he wants to join and stuff, and he starts helping, and you see how that goes. And he starts to slither his way back in because Johnny Lawrence comes and said, "No, I don't want you. You ruined my life and everyone else's life. And I don't want you back. Leave." He could have said that. It could have been fine. But he ends up letting him join. He slithers his way to the top. And Johnny Lawrence only had a handshake, I should say, with the landlord to have that space. So he slithers his way. And at one point through the series, more people join and stuff, and they start, get into arguments and fights. But Danny LaRusso's place, he opens a dojo called Miyagi-Do Karate, and his wife doesn't like it because she's just not a big fan. He's taking too much time up with karate rather than working at the auto dealership. And meanwhile, Johnny Lawrence is trying to build a friendship with Danny LaRusso because he's not trying to push him out or bring up back the old Cobra Kai. He's trying to make a new image. And when Johnny Lawrence goes to visit some of his old Cobra Kai teammates, what's his name? Johnny Creese. John Creese takes over as the owner because he, signed papers or whatever. It doesn't really specifically say in the show, but he takes over and kicks Johnny Lawrence out, but he doesn't know that. and John Kreese kind of is his old self and teaches how he used to teach to Johnny Lawrence, and Johnny Lawrence never believed him in all the story, or believed him in all the stories, but ended up false because he found out that Johnny Kreese lives in these like welcome house type places for people who are poor for the last 10 years, and John Kreese has seen a lot, so it's kind of expected because he was in Vietnam and stuff, karate champion 2 years in a row, and it's very sad to see him, but he's just such a great villain in the show, and I think personally, with something like this, when they bring back all the when they bring back a handful of old characters and mix it with new characters, it's so well, and a lot of stuff when they reboot it, actually, like, in a good way like this, it doesn't usually do well, but they just do such a great job with this, because it's not a focus anymore on really the old characters. I mean, there's still focus on it, but it's more focused on the younger kids and their time, changing how karate is and the new version of Miyagi-Do karate and Cobra Kai, and it's such a great show. And near the end, they get into a big fight, and one of the big characters is sent to the hospital, and Johnny Lawrence is kicked out from Cobra Kai because John Kreese, bought it and stuff. And I know I'm spoiling it, but it's such a great show, and I think I binged it. It's bingeable in one day. There's 2 seasons so far on YouTube Premium, and obviously you got to pay for that, $6.99 a month if you're a student, $11.99 just if you're not a student, and I think $17.99 for family deal, which is even worse, but whatever. And there's only 2 seasons. Each season has 10 episodes, and each episode, the first season, majority of them were about 22 to 20. It was about 20 to 25 minutes each episode. And then season 2, it goes from about 25 to 30 minutes, and it's bingeable. And one day I watched it all one day, and it was just so good because I like a show that's fast and quick. I finished The Blacklist and a week or two ago, and that was a great show. I loved it. I mean, I didn't finish it completely. I only saw up to season 5 because Netflix doesn't have the whole thing on there. But I don't know I'm going on about this, which I apologize for. But actually, no, screw that. I don't apologize for it. This is my show. I talk about what I want and for how long I want. I should speed it up though. That's one thing I should do. But I like short shows, and Blacklist. At first it was 20 minutes, 25 minutes. That's fine. 24 minutes. That's a great amount. And then then once it got along and deeper into the show, it started to get to 30 minutes, then 44, then like 42 minutes, and now it's 45. And it takes so long to watch an episode. It's like Breaking Bad, great show, but I never got into it really. I watched the first few episodes and I got bored because I'm not going to sit around and watch 45 minutes worth of a show. I could watch 2 shows and 2 episodes to that one episode of Breaking Bad. But the length of it is, the amount it is, it's so good, and I just love that about it. And what was I gonna say? I think, like I said before, like I want to reiterate. The show's not about the older characters. So, they can bring in a lot of them, but I think with sometimes when they reboot stuff, they bring back old characters and they focus too much around them, and the plot and the story of the show or the new movie version of it just takes a nosedive into the ground. And I think prime examples. You look at Ghostbusters. Great movie. I didn't see the second one just because that movie. See, that's another story for another day. But that was a movie just good for one, not 2 or 3. And then they tried to reboot it with all the characters from SNL. And nothing against them. That's not me being misogynistic and against women. They're all funny. I love Kate McKinnon is probably my favorite current star in Saturday Night Live. She's got phenomenal impressions. Andy, I forget her name is 80, whatever, I forget what her name is, but she's great too. I love her. She's the person who can do impressions and be like completely serious, just like Kate McKinnon. And it's just that they weren't needed. See, the thing is, it's like this. See, SNL actors are different from normal actors, because Tom Cruise, when he does a movie, he makes a couple $100 million. SNL actors, they make tens of millions. They might cross over $100 million, but they have to be really well known. And I don't think a whole lot of people know a lot of the current stars in Saturday Night Live, because I can see why sometimes it's not as funny anymore, and a lot of the times it's all on Trump. And certainly, you can bust Trump's balls all you want. There's a lot of stuff you can make fun of him for, but you should be making a whole show or a lot of the sketches about him. It's not funny when every opening monologue is about Trump and him. Like, shut up, Billy Baldwin. Like, get the hell out of here, you stinod. Well, voice crack, sorry there. But they're just not well known, and it kind of butchered the series. And it's not worth it. Like a lot in Rambo, the last and the 4th one, that wasn't needed. And I don't know why Sylvester Stallone needs to make another one. Leave it alone. Well, Rocky, Rocky's different because I honestly like all six of them. Or all six of them. That was okay. I mean, sure, 5 and 6 probably didn't do as well as the first two, but they were still needed. Terminator. A lot of them weren't needed at all. The first, second, maybe third were needed, and then you can do a reboot. You can do the one that came out a few years ago, but not. They don't need a new one like this. And it's just all a money grab. But they is so it's just such a great job with Cobra Kai, and I was always on my seat. And when John Kreese, honest to God, when John Kreese came back at the end of season 1, and I know this was a spoiler, but not a lot of people probably watch this, but whatever, or listen. But when he came back at the end of season 1, I was on the edge of my seat, and I loved it. I got goosebumps, and I was so happy because he was such a great villain. I think to see him now aged a little older, 34 years older, it's so great, and I think from the Slitherback and takeover is so great because nowadays you have to watch out what you do because people are like not frail or weak, just like anything that happens that they don't like, they telltale, and stuff gets a little hard, they freak out, and they can't take it. They're weak. People are weak nowadays. And I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm a badass because I'm not. And because I quit wrestling senior year, 3 weeks into the season because I couldn't granted, cutting weight's different than Johnny Kreese. I couldn't do that anymore, and it was just kind of annoying, and I just had to give up. And yeah, I was captain varsity. The only time I was varsity, I couldn't do it anymore. I was drained, and I had been doing it for 8 to 9 years. And I was just like, get out of here, I'm done. And I did have a little interest of joining back near the end, but I was like, nah, I can't do this. Too many bad memories, and I hated the guys I wrestled, the majority of them. I was interested in my first year at URI this past year to join the wrestling team, but I was like, nah, I'm not going to. I'll just bring back bad memories. I'm not trying to cut weight. But he was just such a great villain, John Kreese, and to see him, and he got even better as a villain as he aged for this. And I just was always on the edge of my seat. It's unfortunate that you have to wait till 2020 for season 3. But for people who don't have YouTube Premium or whatever you want to call it, Red or Premium, when season 3 comes out, season 1 and 2 will be free. Even though season 1 will only have like a certain time frame for it to be free, and season 2 will be free. Because when I watched the first episodes of season 1 were free, and then I have to pay for premium, so I got it. And that's the only thing I'll watch on there. And they like, oh yeah, the highest watched YouTube original. Well, yeah, because everything else on there freaking sucks on YouTube. Nothing else is good on. Another series there is good, and great, give it time, but nothing else is good on there. And it was such a good show, and I think to bring back a lot of mementos and throwbacks, it was so good in that, and they balanced it so well. And I think the father-son relationship struggle that there is, they've had the last couple movies. It's just so good. It still speaks well and resonates today. And to see possibly Hilary Swank's character come back would be interesting. Or even Allie. At the end you see season 2, where Johnny Lawrence sends that Facebook request and message, and he gets a request back from Allie. Now that'd be interesting to see what happens. And what happens with Miguel and Cobra Kai and Miyagi Dojo. And it'll be interesting. But no, it's such a great show, and I'm happy. It's a good thing that's on platform like this because they can drop the F-bomb, they can swear and stuff. Whereas Netflix is more like a kids thing. I would say. I mean, it's still this bad stuff with swear words and stuff on there, but the thing is, it's more like kid-friendly Netflix. Hulu is more like adult-ish, but I think YouTube Red can get away with more swearing, just because it's more set for an older audience. I'm guessing. I don't know. But it's a good show, and with the modern twist and the past, it's so good. And there's a lot of Easter eggs that I saw, and there's probably some other ones that I didn't see, and I know I didn't see. But I recommend it. I personally gave it 8.5 out of 10, and I'm looking forward to it. And I know I have to wait a while for season 3 in 2020, which is like Star Wars so far away. But it's just such a great show, and I recommend it for everyone, even though you have to pay $7 a month to watch it. But yeah, do it. I dare go for it. That's really the last thing I have to talk about on here. I know I kind of went fast on this, but no, the next thing I want to talk about what was? I'm just looking at my notes here. Oh, I want to talk about this. Actually, no. Do you want? I saw X-Men Dark Phoenix last night, and I'll say this for the next episode, so this one will be cut very short. But no, I mean, I guess I could talk about the channel, I guess, and the podcast. And this, and I know a lot of people don't watch this and probably won't watch this, but the thing is, I love, spewing my bullshit and just talking about stuff. It helps me, feel better, I guess. I really wanted to do a podcast because a friend of mine that lived down the hall from me did one, and it was cool. I gave him a lot of credit. He's got a lot of balls for doing it because getting a lot of shit probably thrown at him for making fun of him for the cringiness. But it's what he does. It's what the type of podcast he wants to do, and it's just in general. And we can't all be perfect, but I like talking about sports. And I'd be the first one to admit I'm not a huge sports person. There's bigger people. Nick Cardy, a guy I worked with on the Cigar, which is the school paper at URI. Stone Freeman, a legend, sports guy who just graduated at URI, got to get his master's. Good for him. His own podcast, the Stone Freeman podcast, and I recommend listening to it because it's really good. And he worked at the Cigar with me for a little bit, senior, even though he was working majority with the radio. Will Pipicelli, Nolan Riley, those guys worked with me. This guy Sully, even though he gave me a lot of shit for no reason, he knows more sports. So I'm more than the casual fan that just talks about it. And I want to talk. That's what I want to talk. Sports, entertainment, stuff I've done, funny stories, and I have a funny story for next time about this time I almost got hit by a car, and I like talking about stuff. It helps me feel better afterwards. I get a lot of stuff in the day. Yeah, I sit around and do nothing really because my job hasn't started yet. But just like talking about stuff and getting off my chest, just spewing my bullshit. So yeah, no, I saw Dark Phoenix last night. X-Men Dark Phoenix, the last supposedly in this, I guess you could say, franchise or series, this set of movies. So they're probably gonna do a lot of other ones that are like standalones maybe or whatnot, or with the new cast. So we'll see we'll talk about that and see how that went. Tomorrow's episode. Today's Monday, June 10th. It's about 12:30. So I'll probably talk about X-Men Dark Phoenix tomorrow. Maybe I'll get into tomorrow about why I almost got hit by a car this past year at school. And don't forget to like, subscribe for more future content. Tell your friends and stuff to listen because I want to make it big on YouTube. No, but I like doing stuff on YouTube. It's fun. But no, like and subscribe to Shooting the Breeze with the Big Guy podcast. Here, I try to record 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, and Sunday's my day off. I typically, read up on the information that's happened, write it down, and talk about it on Monday's episode. So stay well, stay hungry, stay thirsty. Remember, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Strike hard, strike first, no mercy. Stay good, my friends. And say hello to all the big guys out there. Except only I'm the real big guy. See you later.